So please,
Please come. Vidhu?
yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please take seat. And Vidhu, and please take a minute to tell us about yourself.
Sir, I am Vidhu Shekhar. I am from Lucknow. I have done my schooling from Lavatiya College, Lucknow. I have done my BTech in Information Technology from IIIT Allahabad. Then I worked for a year as a software engineer. And now I am undergoing training at NADT Nagpur.
इसमें लूप दे दो तो क्या होगा, ऐसे लूप दे दोगे ना तो आप बार बार ऊपर नहीं खिसकाना पड़ेगा।
सर ऐसे
हाँ बिल्कुल। Now perfectly fine.
Yes, sir. And sir, I am from 2019 batch and I am interested in
2019 batch of what?
the IRS IT.
Ah, okay, good. Good.
And I am interested in playing volleyball, football, table tennis, and I like watching historical dramas, especially World War II related.
Good. So, Vidhu, I'm hearing two sets of arguments with regard to the changing global geopolitical dynamics.
Yes, sir.
One argument says we are heading towards Cold War II. And the other argument says we are heading for bipolarity. The third argument, I'll say 2.5 arguments, that we are necessarily heading towards multipolarity, right? So can you please tell me, where do I put my money? On Cold War II, bipolarity, or multipolarity?
So the first option, which is Cold War, I think that cannot be cited in this context, in the present day scenario, because Cold War was in a completely different context when there were two ideological issues with capitalism and communism. And now, and there was no interdependent.
But tell me, does Cold War situation necessarily has to have an ideological divide?
Sir, not exactly, but that was one of the core issues, which was also leading to lack of interdependence
I agree,
between.
that was one of the elements.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? Ideology is only one. Yes, sir. But there were other elements.
Yes, sir. So there was no interdependence of trade between the capitalist bloc and the communist bloc.
Economic interdependence helped. What else helped?
And sir, so there was adversarial, much more adversarial. Both the blocs were much more adversarial as compared to now, where China and USA.
What more?
Sir, firstly, there was there was proxy wars being fought across the globe.
More important, compared to the contemporary situation, economic integration or economic segregation were very important reason. What was the other important reason which then buttressed the Cold War situation? All right, let's get out of Cold War. I concede your point. It is more difficult to have Cold War II vis-a-vis the situation we had for Cold War I. Bipolarity. Are we heading for bipolarity?
Sir, to an extent, I would agree that bipolarity is much more visible now as compared to like 10 years ago. For example, now China and USA are two major poles which have diverged from the rest of the countries to a...
But when would they become, you see, fine. Polarity alone is not enough, right?
Yes, sir.
There may be two major powers, economic powers. For example, US was a major economic power. European Union was also a major power, but they did not result in bipolarity.
Sir, because
so what more needs to be done for converting this situation into a geopolitically bipolar world?
So geopolitically bipolar world would result when for example, currently China is mainly dominant in the economic realm. For example, in other cultural realm where USA was much more hegemonic as compared to
Did you hear about something about G2?
G2, yes, sir.
Who was talking about G2?
Sir, I am not able to recall, sir, exactly.
You're not, and who was there? Which were the two parties in the G2 configuration?
Sir, USA and Russia.
US and Russia?
Sir, I'm not sure, sir. I'm taking a guess. Sir.
Okay. Is bipolarity an essential requirement for Cold War?
Sir, I think so, yes.
You think? Can Cold War occur in multipolarity?
So in multipolarity also ultimately there would be two adversaries, so ultimately there would be two blocks, and I don't think a triangular or quadrangle sort of a Cold War.
Called, we have a group called Quad. What is Quad?
Sir, Quad is a geostrategic alliance between four countries, USA, India, Japan and Australia.
What are the objectives of Quad?
So they are primarily focused on ensuring that there is a free flow of navigation,
freedom of navigation
across global commons such as the oceans.
But I get the impression as if it's a military alliance or a security alliance. To the extent that even Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, he says this is Asian NATO.
So China and
are we making a mistake in giving that impression?
So China and Russia are more apprehensive of this, and they view it only from the spectrum of a military alliance.
Are they entirely wrong?
So there is some degree of military cooperation involved. For example, India, USA signed 4 agreements for enhancing cooperation. Then there is issue.
Can you name some countries which are already kind of seen to be getting along the Chinese alliance, China-centric alliance?
So the CLMV within the ASEAN, they are more inclined towards Chinese influence.
But CLMV will not allow or will not become a reason for China becoming a force.
Central Asian countries are.
Central Asian, what else?
Iran is also increasing its.
What else? Do you see an alliance between Chinese and Russians till the geopolitics changes?
Sir, yes, sir. Russia and China both consider each other as a very critical ally in the new situation of geopolitics. And
critical ally or an alliance of convenience?
Sir, the alliance of convenience is because of certain critical issues.
What are those critical issues?
Sir, firstly, the US-led dominance of the geopolitics across the globe.
Vidhu, you are presently under training.
Yes.
When will you go to the field?
Sir, I am on the job training one.
Okay, fine.
So,
a friend of mine who is a businessman, he once told me that a tax officer's job is primarily a negative job. The more trouble he creates for people like us, for businessmen, the happier he is. What do you think of this statement?
Sir, I do agree that businessmen have not a very positive perception of the taxman, but we have to see it from the broader perspective of the government. We are performing our duty to augment the resources.
His statement is basically correct.
Sir, he has his opinion because he does not see a broader picture of how the revenue is contributing to the nation building.
He knows it, but basically his statement is correct or not?
Yes, sir, I definitely deny the statement because he's citing that we are deriving pleasure out of harassing him.
Then what are you deriving, if not pleasure?
Sir, we are fulfilling a duty which we are mandated with. So there is nothing sadistic pleasure we are deriving from conducting assessment or survey or such. I do not think, sir.
But if you collect more tax, you are likely to be called a good officer. You may get a medal also.
Yes, sir. Definitely we are performing the duty of collecting taxes. So if one is awarded.
I was watching a program on TV where the anchor was asking the people, asking people, why do you not pay tax, income tax? Most of the people replied, I don't pay because I know so few people in India pay that tax. Why should I pay? Most of the people don't pay. Now we know that very few people pay, just about 2% people pay income tax in India.
Yes, sir.
what should the government do so that more and more people pay tax? Suggest some measures to the government.
So government is actively striving.
Suggest some measures to the government which government is not doing right now.
So one step which the government is taking, which can be further expanded, is to employ pre-filled forms so that minimum compliance burden can be put on.
Do you think people avoid paying tax because of the forms? No, not at all.
And so I would say visibility of how the tax is contributing to the.
Everybody knows that.
So better marketing. For example, economic survey a couple of years back had highlighted how fast track lanes and.
The government has been doing it for 50 years, doesn't work. So what you are saying is basically voluntary tax compliance. The government is following that policy.
One more thing which I feel
government is following that policy, voluntary tax compliance, correct or not? Yes. Right. Do you think it is a good policy for a country which is at the bottom of the corruption list?
Sir, we have to follow a multi-pronged approach. So voluntary compliance is one aspect, and creating deterrence for tax evasion is also one aspect which the government is working.
What are the deterrences in our tax laws?
So one of the biggest is search and survey, which is done by the investigation wing of the department.
0.001% cases it happens.
And secondly, even in assessment, wherever we find discrepancies between the revenue income showed.
Okay. In 2019, the rates of taxes were reduced drastically, particularly in the corporate sector. That was much before pandemic. Although economy was not doing well, fiscal deficit was there. What was the reason?
So one of the reasons was that the corporate tax of India were higher as compared to the other developing countries. So the investment were being routed to those countries instead of coming to India. So we were losing out on manufacturing and job creation and other
very good
critical areas.
You like to follow football?
Yes, sir.
Suggest 3 specific measures to bring India into the top 50 in next 5 years.
So one would be to develop infrastructure at the grassroots level so that.
What do you mean by infrastructure?
So football coaches, best nutritionist and etc., whichever help in enhancing the skills of the football players, and especially the infrastructure related to stadium, because currently we have only a few large stadiums which are.
Large stadium is necessary for developing a culture of football.
So even a smaller stadiums which are
most of the African countries who are way ahead of India do not have infrastructure. But India has better infrastructure than African and many South American countries also.
So but they have inherited a very long culture of footballing. So we do not have
the culture.
We have to put an impetus to develop that culture. So for that context, I feel that
culture can come through infrastructure only.
So that is one of the component I feel so, sir. For example, tapping young talents up to age of 8-10, because that is the formative years of a football. And thirdly, sir, better bringing coaches who are training in Europe and.
We have studied anthropology.
Yes, sir.
How does knowledge of anthropology make you a better administrator in Ukhrul district?
So pardon me, which district?
Ukhrul district. Where is it? I will say it is in Manipur.
Okay, sir. Sir, one of the core tenets of anthropology is to.
I am not asking about core tenets of anthropology. How you become a better administrator by learning anthropology, because you are going to be an IAS officer.
Sir, anthropology has taught me to appreciate the culture which tribal and other people which are not generally popularly seen among the general masses, how they live and how their lifestyle is oriented. So I have an inclination to study them much more keenly and in a detailed manner as compared to rest of the people. I feel so, sir. And for example, in that district, Manipur district you are telling, sir, I'll look up the works done by anthropologists to better understand them. I'll conduct.
To understand tribal economy and tribal life, which are the anthropologists contributed maximum?
Sir, in Indian context, Heimendorf has done a lot of work especially among the northeastern tribals, and LP Vidyarthi M.N. Srinivasan, even though he's also
M.N.
from...
Srinivasan in Northeast state.
No, sir, in the Northeast state, I would say Hemendorf, and there were a lot of British anthropologists also before independence. And sir, I am not able to recall the name as of now.
Okay. How does finance minister, suppose you are posted in finance ministry, how the budget making is done, Indian budget making?
So, an estimate of revenue collected is firstly drawn up.
Which are the revenues?
So, direct taxes, indirect taxes, then non-tax income.
What are the non-tax revenue?
So, disinvestment, services provided by the government which result in revenue, and other, for example, railway services, etc. And yes, sir, so these are the broad
And
categories.
expenditure?
Sorry, sir?
Major expenditure estimates?
Major expenditure, repayment of loan borrowed by the central government, and central sector schemes, centrally.
Okay, what does FRBM Act do?
Sir, it puts a cap on the expenditure which can be incurred by the central government. It provides a ceiling beyond which the government is not to exceed in general times. For example, in exceptional times, there can be some leeway accorded. For example, recently we saw that the FRBM limit of 3% was exceeded because of the COVID related issues.
Tell me something about Sarojini Naidu.
So she was a notable freedom fighter. She was the first governor of Uttar Pradesh. She was also a noted poet of Bengali literature.
Bengali.
Yes.
She was from Bengal or she was from some other part of India?
Sir, I am not able to
You are not able to.
recall.
Okay. Something more? There is a very important epithet known to her name.
Sir, Nightingale. Sir, I am not able to exactly recall it.
With regard to anthropology, what is the role of RNA in human evolution?
So, RNA.
Ribonucleic acid.
So, sorry, sir.
Not aware of. Okay. You have loved drama related to World War II.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about Fury or Inglorious Bastards, whether they are the true incidences or they are the word of fiction.
So they are fictional as far as I know, because they, as far as Fury, I recollect a scene where a single Sherman tank was able to hold back an almost 1,000-odd people from the Nazis. So that I feel is highly inaccurate portrayal.
That may be a cinematic portrayal, but the incidents per se.
And sir, Fury, I am not exactly able to recall the plot, but for Inglourious Bastards, that was a purely fictional plot,
Okay.
I am sure.
What was the Lucknow siege? Have you got idea? Yes, sir. What was that?
Sir, in the 1857 War of Independence, the Indian soldiers which were mutinying against the British Empire, East India Company, so they held up, they were attacking the British which were gathered at Residency and a few other places. For example, even Lavantnier was also one of the places which was besieged by the
Any
Muting
Nawab was
soldiers.
involved in that?
Sorry, sir?
Any Nawab was involved?
Sir, not exactly Nawab, but Begum Hazrat Mahal was.
Okay, Begum Hazrat Mehlwazi. You come from UP. There is demand of dividing UP. With the Bundelkhand capital of the Prayagraj, the Purvanchal, the Lucknow,
Yes, sir.
and the Ghaziabad or the Meerut for the western UP, the Harit Pradesh. How do you react to it? UP should be divided in these 3 parts or in 4 parts.
Sir, personally, I am not very enthusiastic of the idea of division. I feel that
Why
that
not?
does not really change anything, because ultimately,
Why don't you change? Small states have come very fast. Even Uttarakhand state where migration is a problem has come up. Chhattisgarh has come up. Leave the Jharkhand only, because there was political instability in the Jharkhand. So the administrative approach, political approach, that is very easy for the people.
Yes, sir,
I
that
think
is one
so.
of the benefits of breaking up state. That I agree. But overall, I feel that making districts smaller and providing administration at a
Not
much
the
closer
district
level,
is smaller, state is smaller, I am asking.
yes, sir,
District should
I am giving a counter argument why division should not happen. And I feel that urban local bodies and the rural local bodies, they should be empowered to, that can lead to a much better perspective of development as compared to simply dividing up states. Because,
So local bodies, what they should be given?
sir,
You
currently
see, we have given right to the panchayat also, they are not working properly.
So
they
they
have
have
become
been-
a construction agency.
yes, sir, that is the issue, because they have been given rights only on paper.
No, they have got power. Even they have got power. Why on the papers? They are doing work in Narega also. Have you visited any district or the division? You will find it, they are working, they have got power. Even the construction power they have got.
Sir, but the aspect related to planning of a district and how to specifically develop areas on their own priorities, that is not being devolved. And even a lot of parastatal bodies are encroaching upon their functions, especially in Uttar Pradesh, I can tell you. And even finances, they are mostly given tied funds where they do not have discretion to decide what they should do themselves. And
Narega is unlimited funds.
yes, sir, in Narega is one of the better managed plan with regard to local bodies. But in other areas, for example, smart city program, which was supposed to be coordinate with urban local bodies, but it is completely dominated by bureaucracy as compared to.
So it should not be divided. Local bodies should be given more power.
So that is, I feel, one of the aspect which can be.
I am asking about your views. It should be divided or not. If divided, okay, on this basis, not divided. On
Sir,
this
I don't
basis,
feel that it should be divided.
basis of only this, that local body should be given more power.
Yes, sir, I feel that it would not result in substantial development as compared to what we are witnessing, because certain areas such as Bundelkhand, how would they survive as compared to now where they are given a due attention and focus?
Sir.
Good. Vidhu, first we'll ask your opinion. How do you feel about your performance?
Sir, actually, initially I was speaking very fast, I feel, because it's my first interview in a long time. And sir, definitely knowledge gaps are there, I feel, because I've not been able to follow a lot of current affairs, and even the IR questions which you asked, I was not very to the point as what I felt.
Vidhu, I think you caught your thing yourself. Slightly calm down a bit. Because that will make several changes and improvements in your articulation. Not that there is anything bad. Speaking fast is a style, right? So you can't really consider this as a negative. But if you really want to make an impact, then the speed of speech matters. The volume of speech matters. The modulation of speech matters. Yeah? The speech should attract you. Yeah? When some people speak, you automatically get attracted to that. But somebody else speaks, you say, yaar, kam karo awaaz. Isn't it? Yes. So, if you want to make that difference, slightly slow down a bit. Yeah? Not only in the beginning, your speed was on the higher side till the end. You stayed in about 3.5 gear. Right?
So actually, some of it is also natural, because
This is what I'm saying.
It's your style.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
sir.
what I'm saying.
So how much I can alter, I am not sure.
No, this is what I'm saying exactly. I don't consider this as a big negative. But you said you were fast.
So in the first, I would say 30-40 seconds, I was a bit too anxious, I feel.
No, I think you operate variation of first to third gear. Don't stay only in third gear. Yeah. Once in a while, come down, then you will automatically pick up, again try to come back. You will have to put in some special effort to slow down because it's not in your nature. I simply have no quarrel with this. Yes? Personally, I have no quarrel with this. But you said your diagnosis is you are too fast. I agree with you. You were a bit slightly faster side. Slow down and you will see a lot of difference in terms of what is called the lovability of your delivery.
Exactly, sir. Sir, I'll try to work upon it, but I'm not sure if.
थोड़ा कभी तुम्हारा टाइम है तुम्हारे पास?
Sir, 2 months है, मतलब 22 September लास्ट डे है मेरा. लास्ट डे है मेरा इंटरव्यू.
2 महीना है.
हाँ 2 महीने.
बहुत दिन है, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. इसका मैं तुम्हें एक सोल्यूशन बताता हूँ. या प्लीज डिवोट हाफ एन आवर एवरी डे इन रीडिंग आउट, नॉट रीडिंग, रीडिंग आउट.
Yes.
Yeah, do that. And when you read out, you will see your speed will automatically drop. Extempore speed is higher than reading speech. Yeah. And once you get into habit of reading out, automatically your speed goes down.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, sir.
उसमें भी टाइम का टारगेट रख लेना.
हाँ,
सामने
exactly.
क्लॉक लगा के.
बिल्कुल आप
इससे पहले नहीं खाना फिनिश करना है. अपने आप हो जाएगा मॉडरेट.
है ना. तो ये आपको मदद करेगा. बाकी आपको कोई सलाह मुझे देने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है.
इंटरव्यू के बाद भी आप कंटिन्यू करना,
कंटिन्यू करना आगे.
क्योंकि पता चला कल आप किसी बॉस के सामने बोल रहे हो ही हैज टेकन एन एक्सेप्शन, है ना.
शादी हो गई,
नहीं
गर्लफ्रेंड है,
और ध्यान रखना.
नहीं वो भी वो जरूरी है, यहाँ पे भी जरूरी है. मालूम पड़ा जब तक उसने सोचा कि अभी कुछ बोलेगा तुम सब कुछ बोल के चले गए.
विदु, you necessarily for interview purpose ये आपको distinguish करना जरूरी है that for which question you need to think a little. And
Okay,
when you feel that thinking is required, अपने आप slow down हो जाएगा.
Exactly.
For example, let me be specific on that. I asked you a question on how more people should pay tax. Now this is a question, there's a high probability of being asked from you.
Yes, sir.
Because it's a question of giving suggestions. Because this is a problem which nobody has been able to solve in the last 70 years. But lot of people give good suggestions. उसमें थोड़ा सा सोच के दीजिए. फॉर्म वॉर्म भरना और ये सब करना, these are very childish suggestions, let me tell you honestly. There are number of suggestions. The simplest one are unorganized sector. कोई टैक्स नहीं भरता है.
Sir, I was about to come to the point that
Second,
later,
agriculture में make changes in the law, agriculturists should also have pay tax. ठीक है, politically क्या होगा वो बात की बात है, but you can give a suggestion. There are number of such things for bringing more and more people into tax net. ये अगर बिना सोचे ही आप शुरू हो जाएंगे तो quality of answer will not be good. And quality matters
yes, sir.
for a
That
person
was
like you.
a very.
आपको high marks चाहिए, आपको IAS चाहिए.
Yes, sir.
Good. You're a good candidate, very good candidate in fact.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है? मैंने अपनी तरफ से आपको सजेशन ले दिया. आपके अपने सजेशन को मैंने कमेंट किया. ठीक है.
Thank you, sir.
I wish you all the best.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.